I'm Alice Karuri. I'm a lecturer in Strathmore University. I'm based in the School of Humanities and Social Sciences, where I teach development studies. I'm also a researcher on agricultural chains, commodity chains, and mostly focus on sustainability within agriculture, with a focus on farmer empowerment and trade justice. So currently I'm undertaking a research that is a collaboration between Strathmore University and the University of Oxford. So it's on enabling farmers to reduce the environmental impact in the maize sector. And so this is a study that began last year, so it will be based in Uasin Gishu. And when we talk of environmental impacts, it's within the broader concept of sustainable agricultural systems. So we have then economic aspects, that farming has to be profitable for farmers, but it also has to be environmentally sustainable, and then it has to have social equity. So where the farmers are able to have access to opportunities. So I have worked on different aspects of sustainability, but with the current project, it's on environmental impacts. So as we know, there has been a lot of climate change effects in the agricultural sector. So we have farmers now having new pests and diseases. There's a lot of issues with soil nutrients and so on. So they are being impacted by the climate change. And currently we have about 1.5 million hectares under maize production. Kenya produces 3 million metric tons of maize per year, okay? But we are still a net importer of maize, which means we haven't yet reached our production capacity. So we have all these challenges and constraints on the production front. Yesterday or the day before, we had fertilizers coming in, which were being imported. So we have all these challenges farmers are facing in their inputs in the production levels. But at the same time, their farming might also be causing environmental impact. So by the inputs they use, pesticides, the fertilizers, by their farming practices, machinery, lack of water harvesting. So this is what we are trying to get, what the environmental impacts are. So we are working in collaboration. So I'm the principal investigator and I'm on the Kenyan side, but the Oxford side is who hosts the platform. So it's called the HESTIA platform, which stands for Harmonized Environmental Storage and Tracking of the Impact of Agriculture. So once we collect these data on how farmers are using the pesticides or fertilizers, the amounts, the time, so we collect throughout the whole life cycle. So even based on even from the plowing, what machinery are you using and so on. So once this data is fed into the platform, it calculates the environmental impact. So it can calculate emissions, eutrophication, so just different aspects of the impact assessment. And the beautiful thing, it's an open access platform. So anybody can upload their data, which is verified and validated, but anyone can also access this data. So even the consumer can go and see, if I'm consuming maize from Kenya or coffee from Kenya, what's the environmental impact of this? So it's coming to this SDG 12, responsible production and consumption, but of course agriculture covers the whole chain. So the trends, especially in agricultural research, has been on sustainability, particularly the environmental aspect. So currently, all habitable land in the world, 50% is used for cropland and pastures. And then agriculture is the largest emitter of greenhouse gases. So even higher than industries and so on. For Kenya, 41% of our emissions is from agriculture compared to the other side. So agriculture is a big emitter, and so there is a drive towards more sustainable production in the terms of what inputs are we using, are we looking at biodiversity losses and so on. So, for me in my research, I look at the whole chain, but my focus is usually on farmer empowerment and trade justice. So seeing how farmers are able to navigate this, and we have, much larger systemic problems. So we might have the Western countries subsidizing their production, the agricultural production, which drives the prices down. So then our farmers are at a disadvantage, and that is where you find a lot of, taking shortcuts using banned pesticides. We have banned chemicals in Kenya, but our borders are porous, so they might get them from our neighboring countries. So Strathmore has a very strong system for supporting research, because when you're researching, it involves different things. So for me, it might be going to the field, but before I do that, there's a whole lot of administrative processes. So for upcoming researchers or someone who wants to get into research, the most important thing is research on something you're passionate about, something that you deeply care about. So when you do research that you're passionate about, it's never work. And it starts with the individual person. So you have to have your why. Why am I doing this research? Who is it impacting? There has to be a greater purpose to it than going to the field, getting publications, getting points for that, or having your name listed on sort of research output. So the greater why will always drive you, because there will be challenges in the research journey. You might not get all the responses you want. Your research might not have the impact that you'd have wanted it to have. There are so many players who come in: government, civil society, the beneficiaries themselves. So it's always good to ask your why and do something you're passionate about. But I would also say discipline, because you have to keep up with your field. You have to keep researching, keep up with knowledge. So spend your time well and just take it as, research is a calling. You have to keep doing it, whether you're up to it or not. Just, keep with the same discipline you would with anything else.